Compass versus Zillow. Hello, everybody. My name is Roxanne Govari with Pemberley Realty here in San Diego, California, along with my partner, Santiago Guerin.
Hello, everyone. Great topic today. Um, I'm very interested myself. I want Roxanne to, teach us all a little bit more of what's going on between Silo and Compass. So, yeah, let's get right to it.
All right. Well, let me ask you, do you have any ideas about this topic, or do you have any opinions about this topic?
Well, if I remember correctly, I think Compass was basically having like their own program, right, for like their own listings and basically kind of so that their own agents could use and have, I guess, a bit more of an advantage, I guess, on listings.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I had. I don't know what the clash with Scylla was, between that, but I know there has been some tensions there.
Well, it's interesting because as agents, when we when Zillow first came around over 20 years ago, we were all very, very angry because the MLSs that we were all members of, without our knowledge and without our consent, started to basically give away all the data on our listings to Zillow and other portals as well, not just Zillow. All the portals that displayed the listings to the public,
Hmm.
and without actually acknowledging that these listings belong to the listing agent. In other words, if I went around and I listed a property and worked hard to get the business from the seller, and then I put it on the MLS, then the MLS basically automatically shared that to all these online portals. And the online portals, rather than putting my name as the listing agent, saying that this was my listing for the potential buyers to be calling me, they started basically getting all those leads and then selling them off to other agents.
Yeah.
So that's essentially what started happening when this whole business of sharing the listings on public websites came about. And listing agents were all very upset about that
Yeah.
because they felt that, okay, if there is any leads to be had, why those leads need to be going to the agent that worked hard to get that listing,
Yeah.
not to just anybody that the portal decides to sell to.
100%.
Well, fast forward 20 years, now we're in a situation where Compass has come about, and Compass is saying, okay, well, in order for us to prevent that from happening, we're going to hoard these listings and not share them with all these portals and have those buyers come to us, and we'll just basically sell these properties to the way that we want to any buyers that come directly to us rather than through these portals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sounds
That's
better,
very,
does it?
wouldn't, the question is here is if you're just listing your property with the Compass, platform, you're basically, you could, I mean, doing your seller wrong because they might not get the full exposure, right?
Exactly.
So that question is, very interesting because I mean, they I would agree Compass is, doing something that would be fair. I mean, if it's the agents getting all the leads and traction from their own listing, I mean, that sounds very good on paper, but then if it's not getting out to everyone out there, then you're kind of screwing your seller over.
And I think that's where and you hit the nail right in the head. Who's getting the advantage this way? Is it the
Yeah.
seller that's getting the advantage, or is it the agent that's getting the advantage? And ultimately, the agent has a fiduciary responsibility to give the most advantage to the seller, And the most advantage of the seller is the most exposure that the seller could have. And that is what is not happening.
Hmm.
Now, if this becomes a lawsuit, which it is, it is in the works to see whether or not this becomes a lawsuit. Um, the the consequences are even higher. So as a boutique broker, um, as a boutique broker who, when this first came about, was very, very angry that, that as a listing agent, I would have to share, I would have to basically give up my rights to my listing, to give it to all these portals, to put it in front of all these buyers, and I would not get the phone calls and the leads on them. Yes, that was upsetting, but if that came at the price of getting most exposure for my client, be the seller, then so be it.
Yeah.
And if that creates more transparency, and that basically levels the playing field for all the sellers and all the sellers, all the buyers, and all the agents as well, because no one likes to be that agent where the buyer calls and says, hey, I saw 123 Main Street on so such and such website, and you never sent that to me, and how come you don't know about it and I do. And basically the rules that have been the rules of the game from our industry, and now Zillow is trying to enforce those rules by creating transparency, is good for business. It's good for all the agents out there, and it's good for buyers out there, and ultimately it's also good for sellers out there, because the more exposure and the more level playing field, uh, a better market that we could have.
Yeah.
You can actually see that right now in the commercial market, which is an absolute nightmare, because you don't have a standard system. Everybody can put whatever they want at any place that they want. There's no regulation. There is wild, wild west in the commercial side of things, and you cannot. It's very difficult to operate in that environment.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Compass is basically proposing to do,
Hmm.
to create another wild, wild west, and get rid of the standards. And at this point, I think that's worse for everybody, especially for boutique brokerages. That if the bigger brokerages have a whole lot of power to control the market, and there's not a standard market that controls everybody, then the one that's going to get crushed is the boutique brokerage.
Yeah.
And that is not good for competition. That is not good for an open market. And ultimately, that is not good for the consumer.
Yeah. And the Association of Realtors, they haven't because I mean I would say from avoiding Compass to doing such a thing, why wouldn't, realtors, you know, ask for that transparency with Zillow before you reach, that having to make a whole another platform just for your brokerage, like Compass is doing. You couldn't, have Zillow have the agent's information on there, or they're just refusing to do that. I mean,
Well, Zillow is selling those leads to
yeah,
agents, and that's how they make their money.
yeah. And
So
I mean, there
if
should be a lawsuit there. So,
yeah, I guess you could make that argument, or you could say, hey, Zillow, I don't know,
I
charge the
mean,
listing agent for that.
there should be. I mean, I think the kind of best way that I would say would be ideal would be if Zillow has the listing agent's information on the posting, and then maybe they can have their tab with ask a Zillow agent or get in touch with a Zillow agent, but do include the listing agents, information and way to reach out to them. So, but
Yeah,
I don't think they'll
that's
want to do that.
well, there's no money
Yeah.
there is not enough money for Zillow to be doing that,
Yeah.
because then the money would not flow through Zillow's platform. It would flow through the listing agent's platform, which I understand your argument that the listing agent worked hard to get that listing, and it should be the listing agent who's getting those leads. But that ship has sailed
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah. That discussion is already over.
That discussion is already over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now the discussion is basically transparency and equal opportunity to every buyer out there. And
Hmm.
it's also equal opportunity to every seller out there,
Yeah.
because, if you are putting your property in on the open market, you never know where that buyer is going to come from. You never know if that buyer is going to be your next door neighbor, or if that buyer is going to be cross country, or if that buyer is going to be an international buyer. What you do know is that if you have your house be receiving the most exposure, then you're going to be able to get the most amount of money,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
I agree
is,
with
you know, the best thing that now there is some arguments about exclusivity and about privacy and all of that. But again, exclusivity and privacy, are they, for a house that is going on the market, and it's, you're aware that you're going to be selling,
that. Hmm.
shouldn't you put some protections in place before you put the house on the market to, to protect your own privacy, or, uh, make it, well, does the house that need to go on the market for sale need to have exclusivity,
Yeah.
or does it need to have as many buyers as possible for it to get as much money as possible?
And I mean, I think that's a question you would have to ask the seller, right?
Exactly. Right.
So, I mean,
Right.
it's a tick for a tack, right? So it's either you want one thing or get the other, or want something else and get another result. So,
Right. Right.
mhm.
Well, there you have it. So that's one of the issues that we wanted to discuss. But let's it's the holiday season, right?
Mhm.
And I think we've covered this topic. So let's move on to the topic of what we had with um, with time management for the season.
Yeah.
Any questions that you have about time management, and how it would pertain uh, to business planning and to learning on how to manage things better, moving on onto the new year?
Yeah, I mean, I think a question I would have is how would you set yours? I mean, you did mention the you know business planning. What are some ways you can set that up to do it, before the year starts, the new year starts, and how can you, I mean, with all these holidays coming up, how can you find up some time to do that? What would you say are some tips that you could give to agents out there?
I think the best thing to do is find out exactly, um, with the holidays, what are the days that you actually want to take off,
Hmm.
right? That's the first thing to do. Let's figure out how many days you're taking off. Let's figure out how many hours you're taking off. Set up those times first before you even think about, okay, so today is the 11th, right? And we have lots of holidays coming in this month. So set aside those days. set aside and figure out, okay, those days I'm not working. The 24th, the 25th, I'm not working. You know, um, um,
The 31st and the
the
first.
31st and the 1st, I'm not working. So put those dates aside. Then from there, work on, okay, how many days am I working? What is it that I'm going to be doing in terms of the work that I'm going to be doing, and then plan everything else according to that.
Yeah.
So
I
I
wanted,
think, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
I wanted to ask you on the business planning, what are some points that you want to cover in your business plan? So, what are, maybe some questions you can ask yourself, like, now that you sat down and I'm gonna work on my business plan, like you're looking at a blank paper, how do you start? What's the question you ask yourself, or what are some points that you have to cover in that business plan to have it set up and be ready for the new year?
Okay, so a couple of things that you have to think about. Okay, one is how much money do you need to earn in order to make your basically make your lifestyle,
Yeah,
right? That comes first.
yeah,
Once you come up with like let's make it a round number so that it's easy. Need $100,000 in income, right? So then from there, you go back to, okay, uh, if I want to make $100,000 in income, how many transactions do I need to do in order to make that $100,000, right?
yeah,
So then from there you go into um, how many transactions do I need to do, and then so from how many transactions you need to figure out how much is an average transaction is going to pay me, and let's say from there that you say an average transaction is going to pay me $10,000,
yeah,
right? So then that makes it very easy. How many transactions do you need to do in
yeah,
order to make,
100,000.
uh, $100,000? So you
Yeah,
need to make 10 transactions.
yeah,
Now, if you need to make 10 transactions, that basically means average you need to have one transaction per month,
yeah,
right? So now for having one transaction per month, you need to have, how are you going to have one transaction per month,
yeah.
right? You need to start with the most important thing that a salesperson needs to do is what?
We'll have clients, right?
How do
Market
you get
yourself.
clients?
Yeah, market yourself. Host open houses. Get leads. Make phone calls. You know,
Follow up with people,
follow. Yeah. Hmm.
right? The most important one being what? Make phone calls,
Yeah.
right? Because you have to follow up with people in order to, in order to get them to want to transact with you.
Yeah.
So, so the average pretty much is about 60 phone calls for one lead, right? So
Mhm.
60 phone calls for one lead, and one lead to one transaction. One lead to one transaction is going to be very, very hard,
Yeah.
right? You need to have multiple leads in order to get to one transaction.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much where you need to be. So 60 phone calls on um, to get to one 60 phone calls to get to one lead, from one lead to get to one transaction,
Yeah.
then you basically can figure out how many calls you need to make
Yeah.
to in order to get there.
Yeah. So basically, kind of do the math, kind of figure out what are your required, steps or bullet or points that you need to reach or milestones that you need to reach, every month or week for you to get to you know, to the goal, right?
To the goal.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
And of course, like we said, set priorities because that's the most important thing. In order for you not to get overwhelmed, set priorities, right? Like for example, in one day, if one day you need to do X, Y, and Z, and then you have to figure out, okay, which one is the most important thing, X, Y, or Z,
Yeah.
right? And if Y is the most important thing, then you got to take care of Y first before you get to X and Z.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so and setting priorities is really, really important. Otherwise, you could spend your time and effort on something else, and then next thing you know, all your time is gone, and you haven't done the most productive part of your day.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
So
Yeah. I mean, that's a great way to kind of set yourself up and, start planning for this upcoming year.
absolutely, absolutely. All right. So on that note, since we are always looking to add agents to our group, if you are in San Diego, we would love to hear from you, and we would love to see whether or not you want to be part of our team. And you can either reach out to me. There's my phone number. You can reach out to Santiago, who is an amazing coach and trainer as well. And there's his phone number. You can check us out at joinpemberley.com. And we also love a follow on Instagram. And there's my Instagram handle. And if you happen to be on YouTube, we would really appreciate it if you give us
Thumbs up, thumbs up, and subscribe.
subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. So as we are posting new videos, you have a chance to see them as well. And there you have it. Make it a great day. Have a happy holiday season, and we will see you soon.
Bye, everyone.